Right. So, welcome to this live webinar. When anxiety strikes, tools to get grounded and reclaim a sense of calm. Today, I'll share practices that you can use to shift from feeling anxious to feeling ease. And I know that's a big promise, so I'm going to start by delivering on that promise. Just find a comfortable seat and place your palms flat on your lap. And with your inhale, shrug your left shoulder up to your ear, drop your left ear to your shoulder, gaze down to the left, and just breathe freely in and out your nose. Easy breath. And you might even allow that right shoulder to get a little heavier as if gravity is drawing it down. And then gently lift your head up, release that left shoulder, and let's take it to the second side. Shrug your right shoulder to your ear, drop your ear to your shoulder, gaze down toward the right, the floor on the right. And again, just an easy breath in and out your nose. Allow that left shoulder now to get heavier. And then bring your head gently back up to center. Release your shoulders. It might be helpful here to close your eyes and just notice what might have shifted for you. So as you can probably tell by now, this is going to be an interactive webinar. I'm Jennifer Netherby, the Wellness Coordinator at Pinnacle Health Management, and I have a background teaching yoga, meditation, and breath work, but I've also studied these modalities through the lens of positive psychology and science. The practices that I'm going to share today are practices that anyone can do, and you can even do them while you're around others, often without others noticing that you're doing them. I encourage you to try these practices, and if you find one that really resonates with you, keep using it. So, anxiety is a word that gets thrown around a lot these days when we're feeling any type of stress. But let's get a little more specific about what it means and how we experience it, and really how you experience anxiety. So you might grab a paper and jot down what your experience is. So you could look at the screen for the questions, but is anxiety a thought? Is it a type of thinking? Is it a felt sensation in your body? And really being specific for your own experience. The more specific you can get, the more you'll be able to find or pick a tool that really supports you. Anxiety is defined as a normal reaction to a stressful or even unfamiliar situation. It can be healthy. It's the body's sympathetic nervous system response that gets our blood pumping. It gets us adrenaline flowing. It sharpens our senses so we're aware of our situation. And this can be really protective when we're in a dangerous situation. However, we can also get caught in that anxious response even when we're not in a dangerous situation. So we might experience anxiety as a panic attack, or it might be looping thinking that keeps us from taking action in our life. It can be continued worry day after day. And these can feel overwhelming and for some be quite severe. If we're constantly caught in this cycle of anxiety, it can increase our blood pressure, drive inflammation in our body, and over time lead to heart disease and stroke. So that's why finding tools that support you are so important. And it might even be helpful to find a good therapist if you experience a lot of anxiety. So, some of the common ways we experience anxiety are feeling nervous, restless, or tense. Our heart rate might increase, our breath might become really shallow and almost like we're hyperventilating. You might have trouble sleeping. You might have gut problems. So, if any of these resonate with you, again, note them because, again, the more specific that you can get, the more you'll be able to choose tools that support you and start to recognize when anxiety is coming on. All right, so I'm going to invite you to close your eyes now and imagine that you are holding a lemon in your hand. Now take a bite of that imaginary lemon, and maybe you winced, Maybe your mouth watered at the sour of that lemon. The point is, your mind is incredibly powerful. And one of the things it does really well is to imagine. We often associate imagination with bringing new ideas into the world, creating things. But imagining is also what we're doing when we're anxious. Our mind is imagining a bad future outcome. So anxiety is a story that your mind is telling you. And these stories can be deeply ingrained. They can feel very powerful. But if we can pause and clarify what the underlying story is, we can start to change that story. So we're going to do that now. And I want you to write down a story that comes up when you feel anxious, but don't pick the most challenging story. Pick a story that just brings a little bit of anxiety. So the first thing you can do is you can question the story. Is this story true? You might even call to mind an experience that shows it may not be true. So for example, if you're afraid of public speaking, you might call to mind a time that you really shined when you were sharing information with others. You can also ask better questions. So we tend to get caught in black and white questions when we're feeling anxious. But instead of asking, am I good, am I bad type questions, you might ask, who can help me with this? What do I have to share? You can relabel your thoughts. So some of the ways you could relabel it are, this is just my mind. This is the story my mind is telling me. This is my mind trying to protect me. And if any of these resonate with you, I encourage you to write them down and use them. They can create a little space between that anxious story and your ability to move forward, make choices, take action. You can also reframe your anxiety. So instead of I'm anxious, I'm excited. It turns out that anxiety and excitement are the same physiological experience in the body. And by simply reframing anxiety to excitement, you stop that negative thought spiral from starting. And they even found that people do better on tests just by changing how they see anxiety. All right, we're going to do another practice that can help. We're going to change our breath. So if it's comfortable, close your eyes and place your hands on your belly. And just breathe in and out through your nose. And then as you inhale, draw your breath into your belly, filling your belly with breath and really feeling it expand outward into your hands. And then as you exhale, empty your belly, feeling it draw back inward towards your spine. Inhale, belly expands as you draw in breath. Exhale, belly softens back in. Continue this pattern. We're going to add a count to that breath. So as you inhale, count to 3. As you exhale, count to 6. Inhale, counting to 3. Exhale, counting to 6. Continue that. And if you find that your counting is a little rushed, slow it down. And then you can let that breath go after this last exhale. And just notice what might have shifted. So breath practice can be calming, so can a practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is non-judgmental, present moment awareness that rewires our brain to stay present. So that might be simply noticing how the chair you're sitting on is supporting you, what your breath is like in this moment, what your mind might be doing in this moment. That's mindfulness. It might be going outside and noticing the sights and the sounds around you, feeling the ground under your feet. It might be a meditation practice. You can also try what's known as the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. So right now, as you look around you, notice or name 5 things that you can see. So window, tree, chair, desk, screen. 4 things that you can hear: wind, dog snoring. Right? 3 things you can feel: the ground, clothing, air. 2 things you can smell, and identify 1 thing you can taste. So anxiety isn't only happening in our mind. Our physiology also changes when we're anxious. Our body drops into what is known as the activated nervous system response of fight, flight, freeze, fawn. This is when our blood starts pumping, our body starts pumping blood out to our limbs to prepare us to run. Our senses sharpen, our breath quickens, adrenaline kicks in, right? All these things we want when we're in danger. But we can actually use practices to shift ourselves out of that fearful response when we know we're not in danger. So right now, keeping your head straight ahead, take your gaze over to the right and keep your gaze to the right. Breathe freely in and out your nose. And at some point, you might feel a yawn coming on. I want you to go with that yawn. You can even encourage it. Mhm. And then bring your gaze back to center. And now take your gaze over to the left. Keep your head centered. Keep gazing to the left until you feel that yawn and go with it. So yawning is a way that our body shifts. It's a sign that our body has shifted into a relaxed state. Bring your gaze back to center. What we just did is a somatic practice, a movement that addresses our physiology or our nervous system response. And it brings us into a state of ease. When our body drops into ease, our mind quiets and we become more relaxed. Right. Some other somatic practices that you can practice are yoga, tai chi, exercise. And these are all practices that you might do over time. They can help your body regulate its nervous system response. So you don't always just rush into that anxious response. The foods we eat can also contribute to whether we experience more or less anxiety. So certain foods raise our cortisol level and keep us feeling stressed. And they're the foods you might expect: alcohol, sugar, caffeine, simple carbs like processed foods. There are also foods that we can eat that ground us, that lessen our anxiety. So magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, dark chocolate, foods with zinc like cashew, omega-3 fatty acids, such as found in avocados, salmon, probiotic-rich foods, foods with antioxidants like berries. These are all great foods to add into your diet to lessen your experience of anxiety. So let's come back to one of the most effective practices before we end. Go ahead and, if it's comfortable, close your eyes and bring your hands back onto your belly. And if it's not comfortable to close your eyes, just find a soft gaze ahead. And just coming back to that belly breathing we did earlier. As you inhale, fill your belly with breath. As you exhale, empty the belly, feeling it soften in towards your spine. And come back to that inhale, 3 counts. Exhale, 6 counts. Inhaling 3 counts. Exhaling 6 counts. 2 more rounds on your own. And now just notice that in a very short time, you were able to shift your mind and your body into more ease. You can blink your eyes open. So thank you for joining us today. You'll find more information on your screen if you want to contact the wellness department. And again, thank you.